Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to a Friday edition of the Computer America Show. It's our little pre-show that we do. Ben is not going to be with us here today. I'm sorry. Yeah, I know. He got the day off.
2 minutes until showtime.
But both hours, we're going to be joined by the inimitable, the talented, and the lovely Ralph Bond is going to be joining us here for both hours of the show. It's going to be a fun program. And, of course, it's Friday. Yes. Have you seen the Captain America movie yet? If you haven't, shame on you because, well, actually, I haven't seen it either. So, but I'm sure that I'll get a chance to see it hopefully this weekend. Again, it's going to be 2 hours with Ralph. He's got all kinds of great, fun topics that he finds on the internet. I'm going to be sharing them with us on today's program. So what can I say? Sit back, relax, enjoy 2 hours of the Computer America Show coming at you right here in about 2 minutes, right? 2, T-W-O, 2 minutes and counting.
1 minute until showtime.
Well, actually, it's 1 minute now and counting. I stand corrected. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. It's nice seeing all of you again. I was away all week, so I had no live video at the time, but we have video today. There it is. Okay. 30 seconds. What will we do with all those seconds? 30 whole seconds. Is it just go away? All right. 15 seconds. 10 seconds.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live, it's America's longest-running national radio talk show on computers, Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. Look for Craig's weekly column in your favorite newspaper. This show is being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. Keep it here for technology news, computer products, guest interviews, and your phone calls. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. It's the nation's longest-running nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. Computer America is heard around the world and coast to coast. And I'm your host, Craig Crossman. Silence. Where's Ben? Ben, where are you? Ben is not here. That's right. Ben will not be with us here today. I know, but it's okay. I mean, the kid's entitled to at least one day off. Things are a little topsy-turvy here at the Crossman household as we're sprucing things up here. And so Ben has the day off, and he will be back with us on Monday at the same time. So, but in the meantime, don't fret. We have lots to talk about. We've got a great guest who's going to be with me for both hours. Both hours, we're going to have Ralph Bond here. Yes, Ralph Bond is going to be joining us for both hours. Ralph, did you know, is one of our Computer America correspondents. He finds really cool, fun stuff. And Ralph is going to spend both hours with me and with all of you on today's show. If you have a question or comment, for myself or for Ralph, we'd love to hear from you. Pick up the phone, give us a call. Why not? 347-884-8881. That's 347-884-8881. We'll get you on and get you through. Or if you have a comment or a question, just head over to ComputerAmerica.com. In the upper right-hand corner of any page there, it'll say submit a question. Just click that. It's a link. It'll take you to our question submission page. You can type in whatever you'd like to type in, hit the submit button, and I will see it instantaneously. And then I'll answer you. Or respond to you, depending on what you send to me, okay? The other thing, you can also watch our show. We have live video streaming of our program. Now, I was away all last week, so I was not on the video stream, but I'm back. And fortunately, because Ben's not here today, but you can watch the show. Just head over to computeramerica.com. Again, on any page on the menu bar there, it'll say Show Lounge. Just click it. You'll be taken to our live video streaming page, and the stream will start up automatically. You'll be joined to the show already in progress, and you get to see a lot of interesting. You can see myself, you can see Ralph, and now Ben normally has the technology to display the websites, movies, and videos, but he's not going to be here today. So, but still, you can get to look at me and you get to look at Ralph and wave at us or what have you. So we'd love to see you. And again, we'd like to hear from you, 347-884-8881. So I think that's everything. Oh yes, of course. We're gonna have our social media winner of the week today. Yeah, that's right. We're gonna be giving away that Logitech M535 Bluetooth wireless mouse. Works with Windows, Mac, Chrome OS, Android, you name it. It's about at $40. Some lucky person is going to be winning that on today's show. And if you missed it, I'll tell you later again how to register for a contest. It's so easy, so simple to do. But I think that said, I think we'll bring Ralph onto the show. So yes, see, he has his own theme music too. Yes, he does. Yep, he's back. Bond is back, and we've got him. It's all Bond on today's show. Yes, Ralph Bond, of course. Ralph Bond is a correspondent for the Computer America Show. He's the author of Family Computer Fun, Digital Ideas Using Your Photos, Movies, and Music by Q Publishing, and co-author of the PC Dad's Guide to Becoming a Computer Smart Parent by Dell Publishing. Ralph was Intel's Consumer Education Manager for more than 10 years, and for nearly the past 8.5 years, he's been part of the Autodesk communications team. Hey, Ralph, welcome into Computer America. How are you?
I am doing great on this Friday. I'll tell you, it's so great to have that theme music. I never get tired of it because in my life,
yes,
only my last name is groovy.
Yeah,
the rest is like Ralph. The first name says it all, doesn't it? And I miss Ben. Now wait a minute. Ben takes a day off coincidentally when I'm on.
No,
is that saying something about me?
No, it's Friday the 13th, and I think.
Friday the 13th. And you're right, it is. Uh-oh.
No, you figured he would just hedge his bets and just.
Friday the 13th. Oh.
It is. Now, let me just tell our listeners again who may not be familiar with what Ralph does. As I said, Ralph is with Autodesk, and Ralph comes on the show once a month. It's always the second Friday of the month. And we ask Ralph to find stories of interest to him, which are usually of interest to all of us and our listeners.
Usually.
And he gets this collection. Now, one other way Ralph basically puts together a collection called the Cheat Notes, and we have them available to you. If you want to see the Cheat Notes, we make them available. Just head over again to computeramerica.com, which it's the internet home of our radio broadcast, really, and everything you need to know about us is at computeramerica.com. And when you do that, you'll see Ralph's picture. He looks real dashing, and just
because it's an old picture.
Just click on it, and what you'll see is a number of things. You'll see a link. Ralph Bond's name links to his website, but further down you'll see in really large letters it says Cheat Notes, and if you click on that, your browser will open a Google Docs document that has everything. It has pictures of what we're going to be talking about. It has the story. It has the references. Most importantly, it has links to different stories that you can just click on right and then and there, and you can follow up and do even more. So not only we have the audio broadcast, we have the live video streaming, we have all this stuff. Now also we have interactive print material that Ralph puts together that makes available to you, our listeners here on the show, so you can actually enjoy all of the things that we're going to be talking about. So all that is available. That's all up and running, and we certainly invite you to take advantage of it. So that said, I think we'll get started. And don't forget to mention that we have our social media one of the week coming up in the second hour. But let's get started. And the first story is about a humanoid robot diver that is a submersible avatar. So this is kind of cool. What is this all about?
Yeah, Craig, this is a great story. And by the way, since we don't have Ben today, that means we don't have Ben's magical powers and ability to show videos in his background screen. So friends, all the more reason why you need to do what Craig was saying. Go out to the website, get the show notes, because I've embedded wherever I can have them or wherever they're available, video links to augment these stories. And so you're going to want to maybe play those videos while we're talking about them. So go and get those show notes. It's really great. As Craig was saying, the first story today comes from BGR.com. It actually was a repurposed story on their part from Fox News. And the headline was, "This humanoid robot diver is a submersible avatar," and the photograph is just compelling. If you go out and get those show notes, it's just kind of spooky and wonderful and weird all at the same time. And we have a link in there for a video too, right, guys? So you can see this thing in action. It's really cool.
Yeah, it is. So tell us a little bit about it. I mean, what's it all about?
Yeah. Well, here from the story, it says a professor at Stanford University has designed a robotic humanoid diver with articulated hands. Now, that's one of the keys here. That is designed to be an underwater avatar, meaning, an underwater robotically controlled thing from somebody on the surface, hence the avatar bit, right? So designed to be an underwater avatar, exploring the way a human would, while its diver remains safely up at the surface. So the human, of course, just stays on the surface. Now, the implications of this are huge, as we're going to find out. The robot, which measures 5 feet long, uses artificial intelligence and also has a haptic feedback system. Now, you'll be proud of me, Craig. I looked up that word. I don't have to ask you for help this time. Haptic, of or relating to the sense of touch, in particular relating to the perception and manipulation of objects using the senses of touch. So again, this robot has artificial intelligence elements, but also haptic feedback system to provide its controller with a feel for what the robot is holding. Let that sink in. With a feel for what the robot is holding. While for the front part of the submersible resembles a human, the back part features computers, batteries, and thruster fan-like jets, right, to propel it in the water. The machine is called Ocean One, was designed by Stanford computer science professor Usama Khatib, Khatib, first name Usama, last name Khatib, who researches autonomous robots. Now, there's a quote here in the story from him. He says, Ocean One is aimed at bringing a new capability for underwater exploration. He said in a video about this, and you can see that video, showcasing the robot's abilities in which it manipulates objects like a red basket underwater. The intent, he goes on to say here, is to have a diver diving virtually, creating a robot that can be the physical representation of the human. In other words, the underwater manifestation of what the human above the surface of the water wants to do. It has 2 hands. It has stereo vision for depth perception. Wow. And the most amazing thing about it, he goes on to say, is that you can feel what the robot is doing while you are sitting up on the boat on the surface. And Stanford said in a statement that the humanoid is designed to go places that might be too deep or too hazardous for people. Ding, ding, ding. There's the qualifier. Like doing maintenance on an oil rig so that humans can stay safely on the surface. Well, the other obvious thing, Craig, I'm sure it's occurring to you immediately, is this democratizes submersible diving maintenance. This is for decades has been the domain of highly trained men and women who would have to go under the gear and go down under and all this sort of thing. And it was really very costly and required very specialized skills and very specialized equipment. But if you can have this humanoid robot with the haptic capabilities, stereo vision, all this sort of thing, and control it from a safety position above the surface of the water, it opens it up. With some training, suddenly this becomes something that's vastly more affordable and more accessible to more people.
I agree with you completely. I mean, this is a very cool. I mean, this is like again, it's like Avatar on steroids.
Yeah.
You know that.
Oh yeah.
And I think we're going to find more and more of these types of scenarios where people can literally go and use avatars to.
Yeah.
I mean, we just did something with a drone. With the drone would actually um, clean windows on buildings that go way up there.
Yes.
It's going to be very dangerous to humans. And now here you got it doing something that makes it a lot safer for people.
Oh yeah, gosh, I mean, just imagine all the possibilities for construction too underwater, right? This was purportedly, or initially, this article kind of emphasizes maintenance activities, but again, a team of these robots could potentially be constructing something underwater as well. So it's pretty darn cool and interesting.
Yeah, it is. And again, you can see this. We have a link to the website where you can read more in depth about the story. Again, this is a really interesting scenario where you can use technology as an extension of yourself.
Yes, exactly right. Yeah, it really, yeah, and it's kind of cute. If you look at the picture, it's kind of a cute little guy, a little creepy with the crab-like claw hands, but otherwise, it's kind of cute.
And we're going to see. I'm sure we're going to see more and more things like this as time.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so now this next story is about creepy about things underwater. How about snakes? Now, this looked a lot like you mentioned the Matrix, but this also reminded me of the Prometheus. I don't know if you saw the movie.
Yes, good one. You're right.
Very alien looking, but again, they're underwater robotic snakes. Now, why would you want to have an underwater robotic snake?
Yeah, it's related to the story we just did. So you can see there's robotics and underwater in 2 stories in a row. It's a theme. So this also comes from BGR.com, a really cool website. Story by Brad Reed. And the headline was, "These creepy aquatic robot snakes are straight out of the Matrix." Now, friends, I can't stress enough, get those show notes. Get the link so you can see the video. The video is fun to watch. I mean, it's really kind of cool and kind of, my wife walked into the room when I was putting the story together. I said, check this out. And she goes, ew, it's creepy. But very cool. So the article says, if you thought the Google-owned Boston Dynamics made the world's most frightening robots, think again. Via Gizmodo, a new collaboration between the Norwegian University of Science and Technology, Cosberg Maritime, and Norwegian oil and gas company Statoil, Statoil, has produced a robotic aquatic snake that really does look like something, as the author says here, out of the Matrix, called the Elume. I'm guessing how to pronounce it, E-E-L-U-M-E. The robot was designed to examine and repair underwater structures such as oil wells. This will save money, since right now even small underwater repairs are handled by large and expensive vessels that should really only be used to make major repairs. You know, thinking about the story we just did, Craig, I was talking about divers. Time out, I should realize, of course, over time they've created like submersible mini submarines and so forth, and also autonomously controlled submarines, but they're bulky and they're large and so on. So both the story before and this story in particular show more efficient, smaller scale kinds of solutions for this underwater work. It says this will save money. Oh, as we just read that part about the large vehicles underwater. And again, some great pictures, another video, a final quote here. Elume robots will be permanently installed on the seabed. Now that's kind of interesting. And will perform planned and on-demand inspections and interventions. Think about the crisis of oil spills and that sort of thing, right? Explains the Cosberg Maritime representative. The solution can be installed on both existing and new fields where typical jobs include visual inspection, cleaning, and adjusting valves and chokes. These jobs account for a large part of the total subsea inspection and intervention spend or investment these companies have to do all the time. So, it's fun. Are you watching the video by any chance, Craig? It's really.
I have seen the video. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's fun. It is. Ooh, it's like an eel.
It does. It looks very I guess organic. It really does.
It does. It moves and undulates in a very organic way. And I just, what a world we're living in right now, folks. I mean, it's just, you have augmented humans. That's where you have humans with exoskeletons and so forth. We have advances in these robotics. And I think the term from the previous article is really good. Avatars, creating robotic avatars for operators, right? And going into hostile environments. Imagine robots that are more humanoid-like for maybe firefighting or going into earthquake damage areas where it would be unsafe for a human to go. On and on and on. The trend is just blows my mind.
It is. Any practical use for these underwater snakes?
Well, of course, the story talks about the practical use for oil rigs and that sort of thing.
Right.
I also think they should have added or should have noted the possibility of these being for rescue situations. So you think about the horrible, tragic stories of passenger boats, those big ferries capsizing, and all this sort of thing, and it would be difficult for human divers to get into some of these areas, and difficult for even submersibles to get into some of the areas that we might be looking at. But if you could deploy these very thin, tubular kinds of robotic devices underwater for observation and for reporting back to the surface, it could be super helpful for that sort of thing. And then, of course, both stories, both this one and the one just before, got to admit, there's, of course, military and or reconnaissance possibilities for all these sorts of things, too. So, we'll see.
I guess that goes without question. There's always going to be military applications for things like that. I mean,
always a potential for that kind of stuff. Yeah,
it really does. All right, so we're going to continue on this next story from.
Oh yeah.
Now this is a building. Buildings do a lot of interesting things besides holding people. But this is an interesting. This is a I don't know how you found this one, but this is a building in Mexico City that, according to the story, actually eats smog. How does it do that?
Yeah, that is an irresistible headline, is it not? So as you know, I work for Autodesk, as you mentioned, and the part of Autodesk I work for is the group that creates software and technology for the architecture, engineering, and construction community. So my colleagues and I were always sharing articles, looking for things and so forth. And this one came across my desk, and I just jumped on it and said, I've got to share it today with all of us on the show, because I just marvel at the creativity and the ingenuity of what's going on in today's architecture and construction. Because, friends, again, you've heard me say this before in previous shows, if you think construction is boring, if you think it's all hard hats, stop. It's rapidly becoming smart hats in construction and in materials and in materials development. So that fits where this story is. This comes from Fast Company. A story by Zach Stone, and as Craig said, the headline was, "This beautiful Mexico City building eats the city's smog." Excuse me. It's so cool. I'm getting choked up about it. Anyway, if you scroll down, you can see the photographs in the show notes. And it's got this really intriguing kind of facade-like skin. So there's a building that looks like a very typical office building. In this case, it happens to be a hospital. But sheathing it, there's an outer kind of screen, and it's very organic, very kind of molecular looking, or like tissue or something. It's again, hard to describe in words. Please get the show notes so you can see the pictures and really appreciate this.
But it's pretty to look at. I mean,
I think so. Yeah, I agree.
A little bit of a honeycomb, but not. Yeah, more symmetrical. They're asymmetrical.
Yeah,
but it kind of reminds me a little bit of that. And
well, you're right. And Craig, if you think about history of architecture, certainly in the Western world, if you go back to the 1960s, there was a trend in some office buildings to put kind of you would have the building, and then you would have kind of off the surface of the building, 2 or 3 feet off, you'd have kind of a screen, either for decorative or for shading purposes and so forth. And this reminds me of that trend from that era. But this one does something. This one's not just decorative, of course, as the headline inferred. So here's a little bit from the article. It says, plenty of green buildings cut down on pollution with design features that minimize their energy usage. Sure, we all know about that. If you're not familiar with this world, there's the LEED certification for energy efficiency in a building in the Western, or in the North America theater, and then around the world, there are other similar standards. So it's all about water usage and energy usage and using windows that cut down on heat and all blah, 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 blah. We all know about that. Green roofs, all that sort of thing. So it says here, a tower under construction at Mexico City Hospital, on the other hand, actually eats pollution in the air that surrounds it. Now, I think the building is finished, but nonetheless, at the time this was written, it was still being completed. So the building is called the Tour, I'm sure I'm butchering the pronunciation, Tour de Especialidades. I'm not even going to try.
All right.
Can you help with that? Maybe you can.
No,
just look at the show notes, will you, folks? Is shielded with a facade of a material called ProSolve 370E. ProSolve 370E sounds like something I have in my bathroom to squirt on the surface of my countertops. Anyway, a new type of tile whose special shape and chemical coating can help neutralize the chemicals that compose smog. What? And not just a small amount of them, but the equivalent produced by 1,000 cars driving by each day. So the facade that they have on this building, again, and you're going to find out how, can eat, if you will, the smog produced by 1,000 cars driving each day. And just in your mind, stop and think, what if most of the buildings in a city were treated with this material?
So let's talk about the process.
Yeah.
The process is twofold. Okay.
Oh, yeah. It's very cool. So it says the tile is the first product by Berlin-based design firm Elegant Embellishments, whose co-founder Allison Dring explained to me via email just exactly how a 100-meter-long tile screen can suck up serious amounts of smog. The process is twofold, as you just alluded to, Craig, and might take you back to a high school chemistry class. God help me on that department. The paint applied to the tiles is made from titanium dioxide, a pigment used to make things like sunscreen white that happens to double as a catalyst in certain chemical reactions. Now, here's where it gets really fun. When UV light cuts through smoggy air and hits the titanium dioxide on the tiles of the facade, a chemical reaction occurs between the tiles and the chemicals in the smog. In other words, the mononitrogen oxides. A lot of chemistry goes on in the interim, but for simplicity's sake, thank you, I'm so glad they made it simple for me. The end result of the reaction is that the smog is broken down into small amounts of less noxious chemicals, including calcium nitrate, a salt used in fertilizers, carbon dioxide, and this one blew my mind, water. What? The titanium dioxide itself remains unaffected, so it can keep making reactions happen. So the key there, Craig, as you immediately realize, is what they're saying is this titanium dioxide on the facade doesn't wear out.
Right.
It's not diminished by its chemical reaction. You would think maybe it just sort of wears out, right?
No, so it's part of the building. It's structured. They don't have to replenish it.
Isn't that great? I mean, that makes this whole thing eat smog and doesn't need to be, replenished. You got to love that. It's too much. So here's a quote from the story. It says, but it's not just chemistry that makes it work. It's design. So it gets even more interesting here. This is a quote from this woman, last name is Dring. She says, the shapes of the tiles, a quasi-crystalline grid, create omnidirectionality. What? The surface enlargement, which enhances their ability to receive and scatter UV light. She explains, the shapes slow wind speeds and create turbulence. What? You've got to get the show notes, people. You have to see the pictures. The shapes slow wind speeds, I'm going to read it again, and create turbulence for better distribution of pollutants across the active surfaces. The omnidirectionality of the quasi-crystalline geometry is especially suitable to catch things from all directions. Oh my God.
So,
You got to love this.
Yeah, so basically, it's the shape of it. The wind whips around, and it causes these little vortices and everything, and it just enhances the process.
Yeah, yeah.
Flat surface. It just because it can just grab more by just.
Oh yeah, Craig. I mean, it's the science and the engineering and the creativity are amazing. So to finish up here, though, it says, so the shape of the tile scatters more light and collects more pollutants, which means more chemical reactions, right? It's just accelerating the process.
Yeah.
But they're also beautiful. I agree. A strategic decision by elegant embellishments to attach the technology to an aesthetic to be visibly apparent to the public. Ms. Dring goes on to say, the client and indeed the general public are aware and live every day with the hazards of pollution. It's a fairly visible problem in Mexico City. Amen to that. The unique look of the ProSol 370E tiles serves as a beacon that something's being done. And hallelujah, applause, and how great to see something like this. And hopefully we'll see more and more of it.
Yeah, I think we will. Especially if it works as effectively as they say it does. Cleaning up the air.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to move down. Well, actually, we're trailing here. We got a lot of stories, and so I may want to skip here a couple of months to speed things up here because we've got lots to cover. But we are up against our first break, Ralph. So we'll pause and then we'll continue on. You're listening to the Computer America Show. Ralph Bond is with Autodesk, and he is going to be with me for both hours. Ben is off today. All right, he's taking a little holiday, and then he will be joining us back on Monday. In the meantime, we have another news testable to review from Marty Winston. It's the last time you're going to hear it for this week. He's going to be talking about the rigid 18-volt hyperdrive unit. We're going to continue on with that, and we'll be right back. Stay with us, please.
Sometimes disaster strikes. Data can be lost due to many different reasons. Accidental reformatting, power spikes, virus attacks. Zero Assumption Recovery provides a suite of highly effective and thorough data recovery software for Windows operating systems. ZA is suitable for home users and small businesses who need a powerful data recovery solution for Windows and Linux file systems.
Go to z-a-recovery.com.
Sometimes disaster strikes. Data can be lost due to many different reasons. Accidental reformatting, power spikes, virus attacks. Zero Assumption Recovery provides a suite of highly effective and thorough data recovery software for Windows operating systems. ZA is suitable for home users and small businesses who need a powerful data recovery solution for Windows and Linux file systems.
Go to z-a-recovery.com.
She was so fat, her bell bottoms were tight. Hi, Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America. This time, the rigid 18-volt hyperdrive nailer. Now, you can spend whole months with your head inside a computer, but sooner or later, you'll need to be nailing something, and Rigid just made that a lot cooler. You have to connect most nail guns to an air compressor, but the new 18-volt rigid hyperdrive brushless brad nailer builds in its own compressor. It's surprisingly quiet. You can use a variety of nail lengths. You can select how deeply set you want the head of the nail. You can adjust the air pressure behind the hit. You can switch from one nail at a time to a nail every time you press in its tip, and more. So bottom line, the rigid 18-volt hyperdrive brushless brad nailer makes nailing simpler and speedier with less than the usual noise. Marty Winston, News Tips Bulletin for Computer America.
32 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to the Computer America Show. 347-884-8881. I'll get you on and get you through. I've been doing this show for over 25 years, and it amazes me that people know Computer America, but sometimes they don't know my name, or they don't know my first name anyway. You know, I'll say Greg. It's Craig, Craig. And the reason I'm telling you that is because you need to know that when you go to Vistaprint, and because you put in my code at the checkout, Craig, and you're going to get a terrific deal. And here's what I want you to know. First of all, long before Vistaprint asked me to tell everyone about them, my wife and I have been using Vistaprint for years. And we made our business cards. We use the logos on the shirts we go when we go out to the conventions like CES. And they absolutely guarantee you're going to love their products every time. In fact, as I said, they're going to give you 500 business cards, 500 of them for just $9.99, but only if you enter my promo code Craig at the checkout. It's CRAIG, okay? Just go to the website at vistaprint.com and you'll see how easy it is to design your own stuff using their web-based custom design surface. Remember to use my promo code, what is it? Craig, and save up to 50% over the regular pricing. 50%. So don't wait. Go to vistaprint.com and order today. All right. Well, welcome back to the Computer America Show. As I mentioned, Ralph Bond is here with me, and he is with Autodesk, but we're doing some stories that he finds. And again, if you go to computeramerica.com and you click on the cheat notes, you can actually see, it'll open up a Google Docs document. You can see everything that we're talking about today. Since Ben isn't here, you can't see it on our live video stream. You just see my smiling face and Ralph's smiling face. That's it. But we continue to do this. Now, this I want to skip down to story to this next story, which is story 6. This is really cool. You know, most everybody has a smartphone today, okay, and they have great apps, and you can get an app for unlocking your front door to your home, or turning on your car, or checking the weather report. There are apps for everything. But how about this? How about a pocket phone that has radar built into it? So basically, you can use your smartphone to look through walls. Huh? Look through walls. What is this? This is the stuff of from you would see on the Avengers or something, or James Bond or something. You didn't know about this. Yeah. James Bond would do like this. Well, okay.
Yeah, James Bond. That's it.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. So, Craig, this is a story from Tech Republic, and if you're not familiar with that website, folks, great outlet for some wonderful stories, especially if you're interested in technology trends and so on. techrepublic.com. Story by Nick Heath. The headline is "The Pocket Radar. Get ready for phones that can look through walls." Okay. So there's some great pictures here. One picture shows a smartphone with this attachment up against a concrete block, and showing the tube or pipe that's embedded in the concrete. Really, this could be tremendously helpful for so many possibilities.
Yeah, I mean, how many times, sometimes a stud finder just won't work. And you need to look through the wall to find out what's in there before you knock it down. This is great.
Oh boy, you're so right, Craig. I mean, you immediately hit on the whole construction and repair or retrofitting or remodeling, that kind of thing. And you're right, a stud finder's helpful and so forth. But my gosh, what if you could see the Romex for the electrical connections, or you could see a water pipe along with the studs and other materials and so forth? This could be hugely helpful. Anyway, the story says, fancy looking through walls using your phone? Well, soon it will be possible using a handheld radar. The product is called the Wallabot, W-A-L-A-B-O-T. The Wallabot is a radar unit that attaches to smartphones and can be used to scan the world around you. While radar imaging technology typically costs at least thousands of dollars, the cheapest Wallabot will cost, ready, $149.
Whoa.
Isn't that something? Thanks to Vayar, V-A-Y-Y-A-R Imaging, the company in question, shrinking the necessary technology down to a phone-sized system on a chip.
You know what I envision here? I mean, this is cool, but they're opening the doors to. I mean, I could see, going to the Home Depot or something, and and just have this in your tool chest as
Oh yeah.
with your hammer and your wrench and your radar. You know,
Oh yeah.
along
Oh
with
yeah.
all the other sensors you have, because I mean, this in construction alone would be just worth its weight in gold.
Well, and think about this too, exactly in the trail you're going down. How many of us in some parts of this country know about things called burst water pipes from freezing?
Yeah.
Ooh. And the repair people come, and it's a hit and miss deal to try to, you can see the water damage, but that may not be exactly where the break is, right? What if you had this kind of radar capability in a smartphone that you could cross along the walls and stuff, and maybe perhaps help find where the source of a problem is, or at least find out where the heck the pipe goes? My neighbor next door a couple of winters ago had a burst pipe. They didn't know, believe it or not, that the water pipe, I'm not saying they should have known, but it was a surprise because of what the builder had done years ago. The water pipe that broke was actually in the ceiling of the garage. Crazy. And then it fed down to an outlet to an outdoor garden hose. Anyway, if you had this kind of a device, maybe you could have followed the trail and found where the pipe was and accelerate the repair process. So you're absolutely right. Anyway, it goes on to say, as proof of what the WallaBot can do, the Pro version of the device will come with an Android app that can peer through walls, allowing the user to find pipes and wires, for instance, as you and I were just saying. Here's a quote from the CEO and founder of YR Imaging. He says, since WallaBot can sense minute changes and very small movement, you'll be able to see when pipes are dripping and other problems. Ding, ding, ding. Just the burst pipe story I was just telling you.
Exactly.
Isn't that something? Wow. Goes on to say the device can see through about 7 centimeters to 10 centimeters of concrete. Get out your conversion ruler. You'll get an idea of what the depth is here. Enough to allow it to look through a typical wall and can penetrate more deeply through less dense obstacles such as drywall. Melamed says WallaBot can see through almost any material other than metal, which Melamed describes as the WallaBot's kryptonite. So metal is a hang-up, according to the CEO of
Who
the
has
company.
metal walls? Come on,
You know what, Craig, though? In fairness, more and more and more in construction, apartment buildings, office buildings, they're going with the steel studs instead of timber. Right. So there is, but I mean, still, so what? I think, well, not so what, but I mean, I think the value is still enormous for pipes, tubing, and all of that sort of thing that we're talking about. It goes on here to say but the uses of the technology go far beyond locating a leaking pipe. The CEO of the company foresees a host of applications being developed for the device after it launches at the end of April. So it's already out there. These apps will not only take advantage of WallaBot's ability to see through solid objects, but to track people and objects in 3D space. Ooh, this is where it starts getting interesting. And the last point made in this is article extraction, because sometimes I don't reproduce the entire article, folks. I grab the essential parts. The idea that here the developer of this product had a basic thing in mind, but already admits once this is out there, people are going to figure out all kinds of creative ways to use it. And that's what you've got to love about smartphones. I mean, oh my goodness. I've said this a billion times in the years we've been together, Craig. I can't get over the creativity of taking a smartphone and saying, but oh, maybe it could be a heart monitor. Maybe it could be this. Maybe it could be that. A microscope. Blah, blah, blah. Now it's personal radar.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. And we're using our smartphones for more and more amazing devices and attached to a smartphone. Now, of course, a lot of these things are built in. I'm not saying that radar is going to be built into the next year, but the point is it's an attachment that go onto your smartphone. I don't think you'd want to carry around radar everywhere you go, but the point is you can, if you need it, you have it, you can attach it to your smartphone and you're off and running.
Well, yeah, building inspectors. How about that, right? I mean, it's mind-blowing to me to think about. And for $150, that's a very, very accessible pricing threshold, to say the least.
I mean, because it is amazing, because normally that kind of radar, the devices normally thousands of dollars, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Here it is for $149.
Hey, I wonder if you could run. No, let's pretend you. Here's my smartphone. So let's pretend my iPhone. Well, because it said Android, it didn't say iPhone. But okay, let's pretend this is an Android phone, and I have this device. Hey, I wonder if I could go across the surface of the ground, albeit not very deep.
Mhm.
But I wonder if it could, find that garden line or irrigation line or something.
I would think so. I think we'd have enough penetration to do that, to find
Yeah.
underneath the ground. Yeah.
We just thought of a new use. We should write to this guy and say, hey, wait a minute, how about that? Because finding where my sprinkler lines go is an archaeological nightmare. I usually have to start at one of the outlet heads, trench down and go, oh, that's right, it goes that way.
Yes, exactly. We had to do something like very similar not too long ago, about a month ago. We had all of a sudden some of our sprinklers stopped working. And we couldn't figure out what it was, and it turned out the way it was structured, it doesn't go from point A to point B. It goes a very circuitous route, and I guess as they added more zones and what have you to it, it got more complicated. And turns out one of the junctions that controls the zones had ruptured, and it was near a tree which had grown so much since we put it on. So it was encroaching on it, which is one of the reasons why it cracked. And that was causing it to, it was manifesting itself in another part of the yard, which we couldn't figure out. And so finally, we had to trace it. I mean, something like this would make things so much easier. We finally had to dig and dig, and we finally figured out, and we went, oh, yeah, I remember that, because who keeps blueprints of this, right? So we finally figured it out, and we found the leak, and we had the guy come, and it was cost like $70 to put in a new junction, and it was done, and everything works perfectly again.
I'm telling you what, Craig, if we're right, and you could buy this product we're talking about, Wallabot, pop it on your Android smartphone, and run it across the surface of your lawn or your flower beds or whatever, and find out where in the doggone heck those pipes are going. Ding.
Now, can you?
There's a whole other use.
Now, we live in a very well patrolled. Our town actually has its own police force. Can you imagine that you're doing this, and the police officer drives by and he sees you with your phone? Excuse me, sir, what are you doing?
Well, I could tell you this. I don't live in Portland, but I live close enough to Portland where weird is the norm, not. So in our case, the police would go, dude, what are you doing, man? He'd be down, the cops would be down on the ground with you, go, wow.
Well, actually,
I want one. The cops would probably want
in my smartphone to track my my sprinkler, my system.
Yes.
Right.
Smartphone.
No.
Sure, pal. We'll call 911 for the funny wagon to come and take you away. No, but seriously, you and I just came up with a possible app. Now I'm intrigued.
Yeah, it is. It's very, very cool. All right, we're going to continue on and going from smartphones to chairs in story 7. This is something I know we what's been the news is the Hyperloop, and there's a this, the Hyper that, the Hyper shoes. Well, evidently now we have a Hyper chair. Okay,
yeah, that's it, Craig. For years it was, if you wanted to be cool, you had to imitate Apple, and you had to have a lowercase I and then something, right?
Right.
I bucket, trowel,
Well, you have these verbs. I mean, that work. Like quantum is another one. If you want something, like, put quantum in front of it. You have a quantum computer. You have a quantum bicycle. You have a quantum, whatever it might be. I mean, it just adds. And hyper is another one of those. What do you actually call those? It's an adjective. It describes. Yeah,
that's a good question. I don't know. Maybe someone can call us.
Yeah. Or
communicate with us and offer their.
But anyway.
For that. Anyway, hyper chair.
You put it hyper in the front of the word chair, and you have hyper chair.
Well, yeah, that's got to be good, right? Or does it make you squirm and wiggle? Anyway, hyper chair, great. I couldn't resist this. And this comes from one of the publications in my professional day-to-day world, Building Design and Construction magazine. You might think, oh, God, that sounds boring. Building Design and Construction magazine, friends, is one of the most interesting publications out there, filled with technology. I can't stress this enough. If I do nothing today, then leave the audience with an understanding that today's construction is exciting, on the edge of a great frontier to save money, like our story about smog-eating buildings and the materials and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Anyway, I'll stop. So, Building Design and Construction magazine, story by David Malone. The headline is The hyperchair gives employees access to their own personal set of climate controls. And if you've got the show notes, you can see the pictures, you can see the handheld app image there and so forth, which is very, very cool. And you might think, oh, this is like the extreme luxury foolishness. Think again. We're going to find out how this could really help the environment, save money, and so on. So here we go with the story. And there's some great pictures in there. Says offices can oftentimes turn into a real-life Goldilocks tale. One worker may be too hot, while another is too cold. Meanwhile, a third employee, you guessed it, just right. It is a question as old as the concept of the office itself. What is the most efficient way to manage the temperature of an office so everyone is comfortable? Answer, impossible. In my experience, like trying to determine if the universe actually is infinite or whether the chicken or the egg came first. It seems to be a problem without an attainable solution, or is it? Says, as one startup is asking, what if we have been focused on heating and cooling the wrong thing?
Okay.
Seriously, I think this is cool. After all, it isn't the room that necessarily needs temperature adjustment, but the bodies within the room. That's where Personal Comfort Systems, that's the name of the company, Hyperchair comes into play. It may sound like something an astronaut gets strapped into as part of their training, but for the most part, the Hyperchair looks just like any regular office chair. And again, if you have those show notes, you see the pictures, you know what we're talking about, with one major difference. It can actively heat or cool the person sitting in it. Wow. Developed by researchers at the Center for Built Environment at UC Berkeley. Some pretty smart folks were looking at this. The Hyperchair uses heating tape that is woven into the fabric of the chair to warm the occupant, much in the same way a heated car seat works. Okay. And for anyone who finds himself or herself running a bit warm on a daily basis, tactically placed fans can be used to wick body heat away like a cool lakefront breeze. How poetic. The temperature of the chair can be adjusted either by using the onboard control panel, which is shown in the show note pictures on the side of the seat, or by using a smartphone app. There you go. Once again, the back and the seat of the chair can be adjusted separately. That's interesting, which allows, well, it gets a little funny, which allows for one to be set on heat while the other is set on cool. So if you have a hot behind, you could cool it down. If you have a cold back, you can warm it up, right?
Exactly.
That gets some interesting territory. Just in case you ever find yourself wearing shorts and a parka on the same day. It's pretty funny. Goes on to say this technology comes at a cost, however, as the chairs range from $1,000 to $1,500 each. But wait a minute, friends, go out and price a good upscale office chair, adjustable. They are not cheap, right, Craig? I mean, you're, you know, probably looking, I think the last time I checked, like $500 or something. Anyway,
you spend several $100s, no question about it.
Right. So these chairs are going to be $1,000 to $1,500 each, depending on the size of the order or volume that you order. And while that is certainly an expensive for a chair, the company says the money will be made back. Here's the key: in energy savings. In the winter, the heat can be turned down in the building a few degrees, and the same goes for air conditioning in the summer. And even just a few degrees of reduced heat for a building or cooling in the summer can have profound amortized impact, right? You know this, especially having lived in Florida like yourself there, Craig. In the winter, the heat can be turned down. Oh, we already said that. So that's really cool. And here's the another quote here. If you relax it to a couple of degrees, meaning up or down on heat or cooling, what you're going to find is a 5 to 10% energy savings on the heating and cooling system, said Peter Rumsey, founder and CEO of Personal Comfort Systems, which he told in his interview with the magazine. The chairs will also be rigged. I love this. Now, this makes it a geek gotta have, right? The chairs will also be rigged with Wi-Fi and temperature sensors, Internet of Things, allowing them to communicate with the building regarding various temperature-related issues. So they could become IoT, Internet of Things sensors in their own right. Right? Additionally, in some climates or in mild seasons such as spring or fall, offices may be able to turn off their thermostats completely and use just the chairs for temperature regulation. Maybe.
Yeah.
Interesting. With 30%. Now, here's something that a lot of listeners may not know. Since you may not have the show notes in front of you, folks, let's do a quiz.
Mhm.
What is the single most evil culprit when it comes to carbon emissions or greenhouse gas emissions?
Oh, I know. Oh, I had the show notes.
You have the show notes. You can't answer. Most people, and I did too, when I first got into the architecture, engineering, construction industry about 8, pushing 9 years ago, I would have said, oh, automobiles, buses, automobiles, maybe, throw in trains, transportation, right? The number one culprit with 30% of global carbon emissions coming from buildings and building energy consumption. Okay, so here's why something like these chairs playing a role in making it possible for us maybe not to have to heat or cool our buildings as much can have this rippling effect. So they can not only help, the chairs can help with utility costs, but they can also be considered environmentally friendly in this context. And then it concludes by saying, for the time being, the startup is only offering the HyperChair to large companies for big volume orders, but the hope is that that will eventually be made available for individual orders. I would love to have one in my office here. Wouldn't that be fun? The HyperChair looks to solve a problem that has existed for years while providing everyone with a bit of the Goldilocks treatment of enjoying things that are just right, without all that breaking and entering business. It's funny thing with Goldilocks, but isn't that cool? I mean, and it's a good looking chair too, and I love the smartphone app. It's cool,
and it's a high back chair too, which I really like.
Very nice. And notice the picture, if you have the show notes, is really one of those nice mesh seating. My wife has a mesh chair, and she loves that thing because the ventilation is so much better. It's very, very cool.
Yeah, it is, and again, the fact that it warms up and the fact that you can control it with a smartphone app, So when you get to the office, your chair is pre-warmed. You don't have to sit in a cold chair. It's already preheated for you. You can preheat the chair.
Well, and Craig, the other point the article makes, just to stress this again, because it fits in that Internet of Things world we're entering, each of these chairs becomes, through Wi-Fi, a sensor. And the building manager, utilities facilities manager, could be looking at data coming from all these different chairs and seeing that maybe in this part of the building, everybody's got the cooling part of their chairs cranked to max, and think, oh, maybe there's a little discomfort. Maybe I'll increase the air conditioning in just that floor or just that area. So, I mean, there's all kinds of really interesting possibilities here. I think this is super cool. I would love this chair. I mean, okay, $1,000, that's a lot of money. But look, I sit in this chair, and you probably do in your own respective chair, 10, 12 hours a day, day after day. Am I not worth $1,500 for happiness?
Of course.
I think I am.
Absolutely.
That would be an investment. Maybe I could write it off my taxes. Capital expense.
All right. Well, we're going to press on. I don't know if we're gonna run up against a break here, but the story 10 is what I want to go down to.
All right, I'll roll down there.
We live in a day and age where we all have digital cameras. You always think film is pretty much dead, and one of the companies to suffer from that was, of course, the Polaroid Corporation, because remember, Polaroid, when it came out, it was the first camera that you got instant gratification. You just waited 60 seconds, you pull the thing, and your the picture would develop right in front of you. My dad had an original black and white one, when I was a little kid, and I remember that. You had to put the fixer on it, and then of course the SX70 came out. That was an amazing camera, and then of course digital cameras and basically film pretty much went bye-bye. Film is used today primarily for people who are purists or professional photographers. But even professional photographers, there's so many advantages to digital photography.
Yes,
hard pressed to even with that category. However, one of the things we're going to be talking about, and again, I don't know if we're going to have time to do it, but we're going to talk about a camera that lets you shoot real Polaroid film through an iPhone app.
Yeah.
So you really have,
Because you can.
yeah, exactly. And we're gonna, that's one of the stories we're going to be doing. I think let's talk a little bit of what else is coming up. Speaking of cameras, we're going to talk about a camera that is an automated system that lets you capture yourself as you move through a scene,
Yes.
as you listen, with no human camera operator required.
Very cool.
Two very interesting camera stories that that's coming out. Now, another story we're going to be talking about too is, we say don't drink and drive. Well, obviously don't. But the big thing now, I think that the 21st century, that one is now don't text and drive.
Yes. Serious problem.
Right, exactly. Well, obviously law enforcement has things like known as breathalyzers. They can tell, almost to a very accurate point whether you're inebriated, behind the wheel. They can tell. But it's kind of hard for them to prove that you were texting while you were driving. Well, evidently, we're going to be talking about in the next hour a new device called the Textalyzer. The Textalyzer. That is going to be, you may not be as safe as you think you are, because law enforcement is moving into the 21st century with a device like this. And also, and we have other stories too. We're going to be talking about autonomous cars and about how a lot of Americans, although a lot of Americans are looking forward to it, a lot of people out there, believe it or not, are afraid of autonomous cars. Why would they be afraid? I mean, autonomous cars in so many ways are going to be so liberating, especially the people who can't drive anymore.
Disabled folks, yes.
What a wonderful way to get that your freedom back. Anyway,
Yeah.
those stories and more. Of course, we're also going to be giving away that Logitech the Bluetooth wireless mouse, the M535 Bluetooth wireless mouse. We're going to be giving away that as well. You're listening to the Computer America Show. We're going to take a short break, and we'll have those stories and lots more right after this short top of the hour intermission. We'll be right back in a few moments.
Broadcasting live, it's the only national radio talk show on computers to air every weeknight. Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. The first hour's behind us, but there's still more of tech news, tech talk, and your phone calls. We're being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. You got computer problems? Bring them on. You're listening to Computer America. Computers run the world, and we run computers. Call us or send us an email to live@computeramerica.com.
Hello and welcome into hour 2 of the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. This is the Computer America Show, and I'm your host, Craig Crossman. And my co-host, Ben, as if you're just joining it, is not with us today. He's having a break, but he'll be back with us on Monday. In the meantime, with us is Ralph Bond. He's one of our Computer America correspondents. He's also with Autodesk. And Ralph has gotten a whole collection of stories that we're talking about here on today's show. You can also follow along with us, the cheat notes at computeramerica.com, right there on our homepage. When you click on Ralph's picture, it says cheat notes. It'll open up a Google Docs document, and you can see all the things that we're talking about on today's show. Also, later on in the program, we'll be giving away our social media winner of the week of the Logitech M535 Bluetooth wireless mouse, valued at $40. Some lucky person is going to be winning that. And so we continue on with some of the stories here. Now, story 10 is the one that we're going to do next, Ralph. And I kind of teased it, and I said, camera that lets you shoot real Polaroid film through an iPhone app. Now, first of all, why would you want to do that?
Because you can.
Okay. All right.
It's one of those. Yeah, well, it definitely would be a conversation starter, wouldn't it?
It would.
Yeah. So this comes from The Next Web, which is another great outlet. Story by Napier Lopez. And the headline is, "This camera lets you shoot real Polaroid film through an iPhone app. Great picture here in the show notes. Check
Can
it
you-
out.
Can you still get Polaroid film?
Well, that's actually addressed in the story, so you make a good point. It
Okay.
says the Impossible Project, that's actually the name of a project, made waves years ago when it touted bringing back Type 600 Polaroid film through an extensive reverse engineering process. Now the company is releasing its own instant film camera, and it's a fair bit more modern than you might expect. The
Okay.
camera accepts either Impossible Type, again, the name of the company, 600 film, or authentic Polaroid 600 film. If you have any lying around, it's discontinued, no kidding, which is expected. Less modern are its other features. So
Now, wait a
this
minute.
device,
If you had Polaroid 600 film lying around, I mean, that would have expired because that kind of film had an expiration date.
oh, I can't imagine it would probably be gelatinous.
Yeah, it wouldn't be.
Be my guess, right?
Okay.
So anyway, it talks about this device that again works with your iPhone, saying it has a ring flash that can change intensity based on ambient light and focus distance. And again, if you have the show notes, you can see the picture of that light ring on the device that attaches to your smartphone. It also has a USB charging, a Bluetooth-based iOS app with manual control over aperture, shutter speed, and more. That's kind of cool. It also offers remote shooting effects like double and long exposures. Now, the camera goes on sale May the 10th. So, gosh, what are we today? The 13th, it's already out there. May the 10th for $300.
Mhm.
It's a bit more expensive than alternatives like the popular Fuji Instax, 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 but the connected features make it worth a look. In the meantime, check out some of the samples, and you can go to the original story and pull up those images and samples. But I thought this was just clever and interesting. And you were talking about Polaroid and your dad. Oh, yeah. I remember this. The first Polaroid camera we had, it was my job. You had to count. Didn't you have to time the process? And then you'd peel it with this stuff. And I refreshed my memory. I think there was like a roller or something that you had to put the fixative over it.
Yeah,
I mean, it had that really distinct smell.
you got used to it. It actually smelled pretty good after a while. First it was terrible, and you kind of got used to it.
Craig, what happened was you felt good after inhaling it over a while. So you think it smelled good, but you were just getting high.
Yeah, but the point is, again, I mean, and I found some of those pictures I took back in the 50s with it, and even with the fixative, they were pretty bad shape. You know,
I'm talking about low res.
Yeah. The thing is, I still wonder today why anyone would want to use this. I guess I don't know if that brought up in the article, but why would someone want to use a Polaroid or even the type of film in this day and age of digital photography where you can do so much more? I mean, you take a picture, then what you would do? Then you can scan it in so you can send it to somebody. I mean, what do you do with it?
I think, Craig, it might be, well, I don't know. My son is 28 years old and my daughter's 32. And they kind of come from this culture, this age group, whereby some things that are retro are very cool, right? And for example, my son particularly is enamored with vinyl records, which we thought were long gone, right? And they've had this renaissance because I think there's some, I don't know if it's so much nostalgia, but it's just like, it's gotten so old, it's come full circle to be cool and hip and in a retro, almost like a fashion way. And I think maybe that happens too with photography. I'm just speculating.
I don't know. What about buggy whips? I mean, are they going to come back? You know?
They never went away in some parts of this culture.
Evidently not. The point is,
if you want to get weird,
exactly, you'd have to in order to want a buggy whip. But the point, the point is, I mean, I don't see. Maybe someone could enlighten us as to why someone wants to use Polaroid film.
Yes, not whips. We don't need to go there, but the film.
No, that we figured out. But the film, I'm kind of scratching my head. Okay, so $300 the camera. I mean, for $300 you can buy yourself a pretty nice digital camera. You know?
Look, you're trying to apply logic, Craig.
If that, because your smartphone's got an amazing camera in it these days. If you have a fairly recent modern smartphone, I was using my iPhone the other day. I was taking a picture of one of the rooms in our house, and it dawned on me. I said, I'm trying to, should I go landscape, portrait? And I said, "Oh, wait, I've got this panoramic thing." And I hit the panoramic thing, and I took a panoramic picture of the room. It was amazing. I could see everything. I mean, you can do some incredible things with the cameras that are in our smartphones today. Why, oh, why, oh, why would you want to go back to a film camera? I don't get it.
Well, and again, Craig, I can only offer, the only thing I can offer, there is a culture or a kind of fad, if that's the word, or just there's something about things being so anti-technology. And this from people like my son and daughter they're addicted, of course, to their smartphones and texting and all this. I mean, totally on digital photography, but yet they find fascination and interest. It's kind of that maker movement and do-it-yourselfer crowd, and there's
maybe there's fascination with how people were able to put up with it. So, you know,
I don't know. It's kind of hip. I've seen these things where almost like photography art collages using Polaroid film or contemporary Polaroid pictures, and there's apps that will make your digital pictures look like Polaroids, right? I mean, so it's
understand that. I mean, you want to make your phone look sepia toned. You can, that's right.
Yeah, that kind of thing, right?
Do that, but again, it's still digital, folks. You know, I just don't. I won't say that I don't get it, but what I'm saying is that I really need to see an application where it really would make it necessary, because again, you can do so much, say, with digital cameras, and it just keeps getting better, and they keep getting better and better, and I just don't see the use for it.
No, you're bringing a Mr. Spock mindset,
yeah,
to a feely, touchy, emotional thing.
This could be. It could be very, very well true. I mean, you know. Okay, you know, to each their own. All right. Well, let's move away from that into another camera story.
Yeah, this one's interesting.
This one is obviously practical. We're going to talk about something called the Solo Shot 3.
Yeah.
Which is a camera that lets you capture yourself as you move through a scene with no human camera operator required. This looks really slick.
Yeah, this was really fun. This actually comes from the B&H photography supply website and their review of this product. And again, as Craig said, it's called the Solo Shot 3. So there's been previous products from this company, but this is the latest one. And it talks about it being an automated system that lets you capture yourself as you move through a scene with no human camera operator required. And if bells aren't going off in your head right now about remote reporting for news and so forth, all of a sudden maybe you don't need a cameraman for some situations. That's sad for employment, but interesting from a technology point of view. The link is in the show notes. And a great photograph image, kind of a chart, shows the pricing and so forth. There's the Solo Shot 3 Optic 25 and then the Optic 65. It gives some of the statistics about it. And the cost range for the lower end model is about $479. The upper end one is $719. So these are not inexpensive, but it's pretty darn interesting. Here's why. The review talks about no cameraman, no problem. Solo Shot, creator of the original robot cameraman, returns with the third version of their product called Solo Shot 3, an automated system that lets you capture yourself as you move through a scene with no human camera operator required. Its functionality is pretty straightforward. You wear the waterproof and shockproof tag. So you put this electronic tag on yourself, a wireless transmitter, and the base unit automatically pans, tilts, and sends zoom commands to the camera to keep you in the shot at up to, wait for it, 2,000 feet away. What?
That's cool.
I mean, I love it. And again, I'm sure your head is just spinning with you. It could be used for this. It could be used for that. It could be used for everything.
Tell me about that Polaroid camera again. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay, this is like the opposite end of that Polaroid deal. Okay, are you happy now, Craig? So it's basically like having a personal cameraman with you at all times, which lets you finally confirm what you've always known, that you're kind of a big deal.
Right.
This would be great for the ultra egomaniac. Right. The system features built-in automated editing software, so it gets even better. Built-in automated editing software and Wi-Fi to connect to the brand new mobile app for this product. Additionally, it no longer requires complex user setup like previous generations, allowing you to fire up the base and be ready to track in 30 seconds. You can now move it at any time, even when it's tracking. Wow. Another useful feature is the addition of Solo Shot Edit and automated highlight finding software built into the base. Wait a minute. Highlight finding software built into the base unit that intelligently finds and pulls highlights from your clips and pushes them to the Solo Shot cloud for later viewing and sharing. Interesting. This means less time going through the footage and more time back in the action. You can also manually mark highlights in real time right from the tag.
That's cool.
Once in the cloud, the clips can be shared on your favorite social network sites, a process that can also be automated. If sharing your clips after the fact isn't enough for you, the Solo Shot app lets you take things to the next level by live streaming your camera feed. Oh man, if your wheels aren't spinning on possibilities here, I give up. Simply invite friends, family, and fans to join the Solo Shot community to view your stream. Now, the way this is written, it's really kind of personal use, but business people. I mean, can you imagine? What if you're a realtor showing off high-end properties or something? You could now have your own, automated robotic cameraman following you around the room as you're describing things. How cool is that? Initial Solo Shot 3 offerings at B&H, that's the firm that wrote the review that I took this from, include the Solo Shot 3, the Optic 65 camera bundle, and the Solo Shot 3 Pro, the camera adapter bundle, one being about almost $500, one being about a little over $700. You could also purchase the Optic 25 and Optic 65 cameras individually for use with either system, the indoor accessory and the extra tags and so on. So if you want to know more about this, folks, come out to the show notes, get the link, check it out, go into even more depth. But I thought this was an exceptionally clever product. Again, it's the latest version of previous products, but nonetheless, I just thought this was exceptionally interesting.
So the difference between the Solo Shot 3 and the Solo Shot 3 Pro is what? It's the same basic camera. They just have more accessories?
I think so. You need to dig deeper on that. I didn't really do that much depth research and so forth on what really distinguishes it, because just to look at the picture, well, you can see there's a little bit of a different camera in the more expensive one. I think it has a better lens. And so forth. So that, I think, is probably the distinguishing feature, Craig.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's although it looks like you can take the lens from the Pro and put it on you can buy the lenses, put it onto the basic unit. I mean, you can start with that and then expand. It looks like they offer.
Yeah, and if you go out to the company's website and so forth, you can see some really cool videos showing people, the tripod mounted unit and a guy surfing and doing different things. I mean, it's pretty compelling.
Yes, it's very compelling. All right, we continue on. Again, Ralph Bond is my guest for both hours. He's our correspondent. He's with Autodesk. I noticed that so far in a lot of the stories, there's no mention of Autodesk this time. So
I've restrained myself.
No shameless
It's got to be in there somewhere.
No shameless plugs. I couldn't find.
Wait, I shamelessly talked about, the construction industry being so cool.
That's true. That's true. Okay.
And of course, we have very cool software for that construction industry.
All
so
right.
there you go. There's your shameless plug.
Shameless plug. Okay. All right. 347-884-8881. So this next story here, story 12. Now, as I mentioned, we pretty much know what breathalyzers are and how law enforcement uses them, and you can actually buy your own breathalyzer now. So if you're getting ready to go behind the wheel, if you're clear enough, you can check yourself and say, okay, I need a friend to drive me home. I can't do it, or at least have somebody who's a designated driver, that type of thing. But the 21st century now of this is people texting while driving. As you know, looking down at a phone just for 2 seconds, you can drive the distance of a football field. I mean, it's terrible. So you're really asking for it. You don't want to text and drive, although the temptation is certainly there. You can't do it. But one of the problems is that law enforcement, it's more difficult unless a police officer actually sees you texting. As he drives by, there's really no way to prove or at least to stop you. You know, if he doesn't see, if you come
Probable cause.
right, exactly, doesn't see that. Well, evidently, there's something new that they're beginning to call the textilizer, and this looks really interesting. Tell us about this.
Yeah, this comes from Ars Technica, great website. Story by David Kravitz. The title is First Came the Breathalyzer, Now Meet the Roadside Police Textilizer. Pretty cool.
Yes.
So it says here, we're all familiar with the breathalyzer, the brand name for a roadside device that measures a suspect's drunken driver's blood alcohol level. And it has been in use for decades. It's kind of amazing to think it's been around that long. Now there's a so-called textilizer device to help authorities determine whether someone involved in a motor vehicle accident was unlawfully driving while distracted. The roadside technology is being developed by Celebrite, Cellebrite. This gets interesting. The Israeli firm that many believe assisted the FBI in cracking the iPhone at the center of a heated decryption battle with Apple, right?
I thought Celebrite looked familiar, and now I realize.
Yeah. So this is interesting. These guys are behind this product, right? It says under the first of its kind legislation proposed in New York, drivers involved in accidents would have to submit their phone to roadside testing from a textilizer to determine whether the driver was using a mobile phone ahead of the crash.
Wow.
Ain't that something? In a bid to get around the Fourth Amendment right to privacy, the textilizer allegedly would keep conversations, contacts, numbers, photos, and application data private. It will solely say whether the phone was in use prior to a motor vehicle mishap.
Which is all I guess they really need to know.
I think that's right. I mean, that's what's really at play here.
Right.
Although, let's say you've got your smartphone and it's in your Bluetooth car-enabled system, and you're talking on the phone over this
hands-free. Yeah,
hands-free. That I would not deem as irresponsible, right? So there's some nuances here. It will solely say whether. Oh, that's right. Further analysis, which might require a warrant, could be necessary to determine whether such usage was hands-free, the point we just made, dashboard technology, and to confirm the original findings. So there, it's not a perfect thing, but it's an interesting trend. So it goes on to say here, kind of concludes with this very alarming statistic. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, each day in the United States, 9 people die, and more than 1,153 on average are injured daily because of distracted driving accidents. Whew. That's roughly 20% of mishaps caused by distracted driving. It's a serious, tragic problem.
I wonder how that compares with, drunk driving.
Well, it would be an interesting statistic to know. That's a good point.
Curious to see how it compares, because that sounds like it's getting up there and it's getting worse.
Yeah.
But that is an amazing statistic each day.
It's shocking. I mean, I'm guilty of looking at text messages. If my wife sends me a text message, I'm on my way to Home Depot or something, and she remembers something she wants me, I will just glance. But even that, I got to, after reading this article, I'm thinking, you know what? I'll pull over. It's just not.
No, it isn't. My phone will go blink, and then you're right. I'll just wait, and either or if I'm at a traffic light, I'll look at it real quickly, or if I'm stopped. But if I'm rolling, I'm not going to look at it. I just have to wait until the next.
Yeah.
Point. I figured if it's really important, someone's going to call me, and then again, I have my hands-free phone.
Yeah.
I haven't heard. Have you heard of any states? I know that they're forbidding you using your phone, talking on your phone when you're driving, but not hands-free. I don't think that any of them have legislation against hands-free.
No, not that I'm personally aware of. No, Oregon has California, I think, has the bit about you're not supposed to do your mess with your phone while you're driving.
Well, yeah, but the point is, if it's hands-free, and of course a lot of cars have it already built into the console. I mean, that's like saying, if they say you can't use a hands-free phone when you're driving, that's like saying if you're driving, you can't talk to your passengers in your car.
Yeah, I can't imagine that. That doesn't make sense.
You're talking to the passengers. And that's what you're doing, the hands-free driving. You're just talking. Your eyes are not distracted. You hear, and that's it. So that's like saying, well, you can't use your phone hands-free. That means you can't talk to the passengers in your car. No, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't. And of course, today, because with hands free, some it's either it's built into the steering wheel, like the cruise control. I mean, you have controls that allow you to operate them without distracting you.
Well, and Craig, again, I have, and by today's standards, an antique automobile, 2005 model, has none of the bells and whistles. But today's groovy, modern connected cars, won't they read text messages to you?
Yes, they will read. Some of them will read text messages. That's very true. And of course, there are apps for your smartphone now that will also read the text messages that's coming in. Yeah, I mean, most iPhones will allow you
that.
Yeah, it'll read the text message rather than. And I think there are apps that will allow you.
Oh, that's cool, because I could just put my smartphone on the seat next to me when I'm commuting or something, and just have it read.
Well, what I'm doing, and it's interesting. I'm in the process of doing this, Ralph. My navigation, I have a TomTom now. I had the top of the line, and it's beginning to feel its age. Getting to the point now where there is nothing that I cannot do on my smartphone that I can do with that navigator.
I understand. Yes.
So what I'm thinking is, I'm going to, go to Amazon or something and pick up one of these. They have these dashboard mounts for your smartphone.
Right.
And I'll just take it when I go in the car. I take the smartphone, put it on the dash, and then if I have to navigate, and matter of fact, the navigation is superior in many ways. I can just say, hey, Siri, drive me to such and such an address, and it'll do it, and I don't have to completely hands free. And I think I'm going to get rid of the antiquated navigation system because again, there's not much that will do that I cannot do with a smartphone.
Well, and I'll tell you the other advantage to that plan you're talking about, because I have an old, I can't remember whether it's it's a TomTom brand little guy I put on my dash.
Exactly.
And it's, oh my gosh, it must be, I don't know, 10 years old or something. So the other advantage, my wife said, oh, hey, dummy, use your phone, just like you're saying, because she said, and don't forget, unlike the antiquated, dedicated GPS unit you have there, Ralph, this guy's always up to date.
Yeah, it's always up to date. You don't have to download the maps. Absolutely, there's all of that. You have the latest maps. Also, with the little dash mount thing, you can have the power cord to it. So, although it doesn't use that much power, if you're gonna take a long trip, you're worried about your battery life, just connect it to the cigarette lighter. It plugs in, and you're done. And I think that's what I'm going to. I think that's what I'm going to do. That's I think the next thing.
Oh, that's clearly the right thing to do. In fact, it might even justify having a larger phone model so you have a bigger screen and so forth.
I was thinking about that, but the 6S for me is a good size. I mean, it's a nice screen, and I was able to look at it, and I in landscape mode, and it works in portrait or landscape mode. By the way, unlike the TomTom, I think the screen is big enough. The motion, the TomTom has more of a jerky motion, whereas the iPhone is just a nice smooth motion. It's just you can see it's technologically superior.
Yeah,
even
and up to date.
and up to date. I think the one thing that mine still did that I don't know if that they can do is that the TomTom had a thing where it would let you know when there were traffic cameras on. It would let you know. It would let you know if there's a traffic camera. I don't think that is on the smartphone yet, but you know what? I'm sure that will be coming, if not sooner, and then that's something that eventually will show up if there's enough of demand for it. I really, once you know where your traffic camera is, you don't need to go bing bing. That's right. You know where it is. Just. But other than that, everything that I need is built into the smartphone.
Yeah.
All right. Now we've got time, I think, for one more story here.
Alrighty.
And then we'll let's just go to this. How about story 14? Americans are afraid of autonomous cars.
Yeah. This comes from TechCrunch, a story by Kristen Hall Geisler. And again, Americans are afraid of autonomous cars. Says here, in January of this year, AAA, the Automobile Club of America, conducted a phone survey of nearly 2,000 drivers over the age of 18 and found some surprising results. 75% of respondents would be afraid to allow an autonomous vehicle to drive itself with them in it. Another 20% were cool to the idea, leaving 5%, this is so funny, apparently abstaining in favor of waiting for flying cars. Well, that's like waiting for the Jetsons. Hey, that sounds like a novel. Anyway, we've got a few years to adjust to the idea of fully autonomous vehicles like Google's test car driving around without any human input. In the meantime, we do have advanced driver assistance systems, which are semi-autonomous, coming to the market as we speak. About half of the respondents in the AAA surveyed trusted lane departure warning and lane keeping systems, as well as adaptive cruise control. Only 44% tested the automatic emergency braking systems that will be included on all models by 2022. I didn't know that.
Yeah, only 44% trusted
Yeah, trusted. Yes, right. And a mere 36% trusted self-parking systems. That would be the first thing I'd give a shot.
Yeah.
Terrible parallel parking.
No, actually, I'm pretty good at it, but my wife is horrible at it, and so that would be really good. And quite frankly, even though I'm good at it, if I can push a button, just let it park itself. Hey, why not?
I think that's where it's at. That's a technology I'm on board with.
You know what I'm waiting for, Ralph? Though also is I want to get to the point where if I walk out of a store and I don't have to go get my car. I just push a button, the car just comes up and it just picks me up, and then I can get in and drive away.
Yes.
And park the car. Same thing. Just go park the car.
Yes. You get to the airport, you get to the big parking building, you just go, bye car, find a spot. See ya. And then you get back, you come back from your trip, and you go your smartphone, you say, hello car, I'm back, come and get me.
Like I'm Batman, because that's what he used to do.
Yes, I love it. And I'm sure it's eminently doable, right? Yeah. Anyway, the feature ends by saying, not surprisingly, people who already have these systems in their cars are far more likely to trust them. The numbers jump by 25 to 30% points for respondents who have used the technology in their own vehicles. For instance, 84% of people with lane keeping technology trust it, versus 50% of those who don't have it in their cars. So to your point, once you experience it, you realize, holy smokers, this parallel parking thing does work. This lane change thing does work. The assisted braking bit, when it senses you're coming up on something. And boy, I think that's an important point.
That is nice. All right, we're at the bottom of the hour. We're going to take a break, and then we'll continue on. Ralph Bond is here with me for both hours. Ben is on break today, but we'll be back Monday. We have a new Systems review coming up, and also our social media the winner with an M535 Bluetooth wireless mouse from Logitech. It's coming up next, right after these words. You're listening to Computer America. Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. Long before Vistaprint asked me to tell you about them, my wife and I have been using Vistaprint for years, making business cards, having the Computer America logo placed on the polo shirts we use at conventions like CES, even printing a business card for our personal lives with our home address and phone number. In fact, Vistaprint offers tons of custom products for home and office needs, and Vistaprint absolutely guarantees you'll love their products every time, or they will make it right. In fact, they'll give you 500 business cards for just $9.99 when you enter my promo code Craig at checkout. Just go to their website at www.vistaprint.com and see how easy it is to design your own stuff using their web-based custom design service. Remember to use my code Craig and save up to 50% over their regular pricing. So don't wait. Go to vistaprint.com and order today. Looking for a best friend? Brother Wolf Animal Rescue has your best friend waiting just for you. The mission of Brother Wolf Animal Rescue is to help build a sustainable, no-kill community where no dogs or cats are ever killed for population control, where true euthanasia is reserved only for animals who are irremediably suffering or for animals who are truly a threat to society and with no hope of rehabilitation. Brother Wolf's staff and volunteers go door to door, neighborhood by neighborhood, to educate citizens about local resources available for at-risk pets and to help their families connect with those resources. Brother Wolf's community-based approach to no-kill helps keep family pets healthy, happy, and in their homes and out of the local shelter system in the first place. For more information or to make a tax-deductible donation to this wonderful 501c3 organization, visit their website at www.bwar.org. Help to realize Brother Wolf's vision when no animal is euthanized for lack of a home.
Who's a good boy?
Hey, when I order a scotch, I'm not asking for tape. Hi, I'm Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America. This time, mantle mount. Think about the dual arms of a pantograph, and you have a fair idea of how a mantle mount on the wall lets a 48 to 80-inch really big screen TV come forward and down. So if, for example, having the set on the wall over the fireplace places it just too high, this lets you swing it away from the wall by as much as 15 inches as you bring it down by as much as 24 inches. If you have a mantle, this dodges it. You can also swivel it somewhat so people in favorite chairs can face the screen square on. Bottom line, on any wall at all, even where there's a fireplace mantle, a mantle mount can bring an uppity TV down to more of an eye level. Marty Winston, News Tips Bulletin for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. It's 33 minutes after the hour here on the program. Ben is off for the day. He'll be back on Monday. But it's me and Ralph Bond, our Computer America correspondent, doing a wonderful job, by the way. And we're doing all these great stories that Ralph finds for us. And again, you can see a lot of them on our show notes. Head over to computeramerica.com. Click on the cheat notes link when you click on Ralph's picture, and you can follow along with us. Let me just say, though, before we continue on, I guess it's time to do our social media winner of the week. All right. And I can see Ralph has got his drumsticks all ready to go. So we're going to announce that winner right now. This week's social media winner is... It's amazing to have that timpani sound with those snare drumsticks. Stephen Bransrud. Stephen Bransrud, congratulations. You are this week's winner. Now, Stephen listens to Computer America in Huron, South Dakota. Huron, South Dakota. Have you heard of Huron? Yeah, okay, Huron, South Dakota. He wins the Logitech M535 Bluetooth wireless mouse. It works with the Windows operating system, Mac, Chrome OS, Android. Basically, if you have Bluetooth, it's going to work with it. It works on various surfaces, from metal cafe tables to tile countertops to your favorite wood desk, thanks to its laser-grade optical sensor. And basically, it gives you the freedom to create anytime and anywhere on the computer that you choose, all in comfort. Valued at $40. Congratulations to you, Stephen Bransrud. You are this week's social media winner. And again, head over to computeramerica.com. And again, right there on our homepage, you'll see under the menu bar, it says Interact. It's the third item from the left. And then you hover over that and it says Social Media Contests. And you'll see all the different places, all the different social media areas that we interact with. There, like, for example, there's Facebook, there's Twitter, there's YouTube, there's Pinterest, Google Plus. Basically, you go to each one and you subscribe, or you like the page, or you follow our feed, or you follow our Twitter, whatever. You do it one time, only one time, and each one counts for an entry. That's up to 5 entries a week that you'll have. And when you do it once, and then you never have to do it again, you'll have 5 entries every single week, up to 5. To win that M535 Bluetooth mouse from Logitech. And we keep changing and upgrading the prizes all the time. So, but you don't have to enter it again. That one-time entry gets for you forever. So head over to computeramerica.com and enter the contest. Why wouldn't you? I mean, it's really easy to do. All right, so we continue on with Ralph Bond, and Ralph is here with us as we finish out the hour. And again, we're using the cheat notes, as I mentioned. And we just finished a story which was by why Americans, Americans are afraid, not half, but a lot of Americans are afraid of autonomous cars. And what I want to do is go back up one story to story 13. And this was, it says, you hear stories of people, they find a USB drive, they find one in the parking lot, they find one in the park, they find something. And what's the first thing to do? They take it and they plug it into the computers. Wrong. You don't want to plug that into your computer. That's bad news. You do not want to do that. No. Don't do it. Because this is one of the ways. What was it? There are so many viruses. I think Stuxnet got passed around that way too. I mean, some of the most notorious viruses out there. It's a form of social engineering. They just let oh, look, it's an expensive USB drive. Let me just plug it into my computer, see what's on it, and you're infected. And that's all it takes. It's done. It's gone. So don't do it. But anyway, according to the story, still half, 50% of people still plug in USB drives that they find in a parking lot. Now, why is this? Why?
Yeah, this will be our public service story for today, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, wait, we did the textilizer. That was kind of public service. Please don't text and drive, okay?
Okay.
So that was one. Here's the second one, actually, second public service. So this comes from the Register, a renowned newspaper in the United Kingdom. Story by Sean Nichols, and the headline, as you just alluded to, is half the people plug in USB drives they find in the parking lot. This was a fun story. It says a new study has found that almost half the people who pick up a USB stick or drive they happen across in a parking lot plug it into their PCs. Oh, yeah. I mean, if you're going to do this, folks, at least, scan it with your virus software first or something. Don't just, stick it in there like Craig was saying. Anyway, researchers from Google, the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, and the University of Michigan. So this is a story that was in a United Kingdom publication, yet it involves our institutions. Mm-hmm. What this team did is they spread 297 USB drives around the Urbana-Champaign campus. Okay. And they found that 48% of the drives were picked up and plugged into a computer, some within minutes of being dropped. Yeah, you love this. And the study dropped USB sticks containing HTML files that had IMG tags. The tag defines the image in an HTML page, by the way, folks. These were embedded in these drives. Now, opening the files fetched the image from a remote server, allowing the researchers to track the USB drive's use and roughly its location. It's obviously not a perfect means to detect usage, but close enough for what they were trying to determine. And yes, we're talking about people, students and staff who hang around the university campus. The drives were usually picked up within hours of being left in the lot, and one being opened just 6 minutes after being dropped off. Overall, 48% of the drives were picked up and plugged into the PC, as they said before. Now, it goes on to say here, additionally, the study found that just 16% of users bothered to scan the drives with antivirus software before loading the files. Only 16%. 68% of the respondents said they took no precautions whatsoever before plugging in the drives. Where's that buzzer sound again? Wrong thing to do.
Wrong thing to do.
And it concludes with a quote here. We hope that by bringing these details to light, we remind the security community, reminding human beings, that some of the simplest attacks remain realistic threats. The researchers said, yes, unfortunately, if I were in ISIL or a terrorist, I'd start raining USB drives over the United States. Horrible things, right?
I want to know, it wasn't reflected in the story, but I would like to know if they pursued this to saying that they found a person and say, why did you do this? Why? I mean, did they get to interview some of the people? So you found this thing and you plugged it in your computer without any.
That's a good point. Why?
Why did you do it? I don't know if they did or not. I mean, I would like to know if they should have said, why? Why did you do this? I mean,
yeah.
You endanger everything. You everything could be complete. I mean, thank goodness some had enough wherewithal to scan
them first.
Scan them. But
16%, only 16%. Better than nothing, but still surprisingly, small percentage.
Let's see. We got a caller who wants to make a comment. Let's see.
Great.
We'll do it. Computer America, Craig Crossman. Hey, Vapor Trails. Are you there?
Yes.
So,
I'm here, man.
Yeah. So what's your comment for us?
I just got on the show.
Oh, you did. Well,
I just got on the great show.
okay. Well,
I'm just calling through a tablet. I'm just calling through a tablet on Bluetooth.
oh, well, cool. Well, listen, keep listening and enjoy the show. We'll let you stay on and you can listen to the show. So again, we're saying that I wish they had interviewed the people and said, why did
I agree.
because then they could get some insight or further insight into it.
But you know what? If you have the show notes, which I know you do, click on that link, go to that register article. There might be some more links embedded there that'll take you to the actual study itself, and maybe that talks about behavioral reasons why people did what they did. Yeah, that could be there.
Exactly. All right. Well, again, Ralph Bond is with Autodesk, and he is our Computer America correspondent, and we're doing some of these stories that he's found for us. Ben, my co-host, is off today. He will be back with us on Monday, continuing on. And again, remember, there's live video stream you can watch. Everything happens at the at computeramerica.com, the internet home of a radio broadcast. So you can actually watch the live stream as well as listen to the show. So we'll continue on doing some of these stories, and again, their technology. This is a really cool one. This is story 17. I want to do this. Anybody who watched the movie Predator? Remember that with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and you could see the aliens had this image, this thermal imaging. That's how the aliens could see. Well, evidently. That thermal imaging is actually a real technology today, and evidently they have a device now that firefighters can wear that actually gives them what they're calling predator vision.
Yeah.
Predator vision, because that was a great movie in its day. Predator vision. So tell us about this device.
Yeah, this is a fun story from Gizmodo, of course, a wonderful site. Story by Chris Mills. In fact, Chris's stories are always really good. And if you have the show notes, there's a really great image that you can see to give an idea of what this thermal imaging device looks like. So the story says thermal vision might have been made popular by the Predator movies, right? But infrared imaging is useful for humans as well as mutant aliens, specifically giving firefighters hands-free, that's the key, hands-free thermal vision could save lives as well as making Hollywood jealous. Scott Sight, S-I-G-H-T is the last name, is a thermal imaging Scott Sight is a thermal imaging headset. Boy, I think I need thermal mouth help. Scott Sight is a thermal imaging headset designed to make firefighters' lives easier. It integrates a thermal camera into a standard mask. So elegant an idea, right? Yeah. With the camera mounted on the right-hand side and a tiny screen positioned in the bottom of the firefighter's field of vision. So, Craig, I'm sure you're aware that a lot of firefighters will have handheld devices and other things that but that means their one hand is engaged.
This actually fits inside their helmets.
Yeah, and so to have this built into the mask and have it so it's positioned so that you can just see it out of the periphery of your vision. What took so long to figure this out? I just think it's genius. Yeah. So it goes on to say it's not true HoloLens style augmented reality. You still need to flick your eyes between the real world and the tiny display. I don't see that as a negative, by the way, but it works something like Google Glass or the helmet-mounted display Apache pilots use, which is a good comparison.
Yeah.
Thermal imaging is already a staple in firefighters' toolkits, as we just said. It lets them see victims through dense smoke, but also spot hot spots or fires that are burning inside walls. At the moment, handheld cameras with a rear-mounted display are the norm, as we just mentioned, right? But they're bulky and obviously use up one or more hands.
Right.
Augmented reality is currently a jaw-dropping technology searching for practical applications. Scott's helmet-mounted display is a fantastic start, but imagine a HoloLens style display coupled with a thermal imaging camera, which would automatically flag up victims and hotspots, not to mention, of course, giving us good weapon in the war against Ridley Scott's alien invasion. But this is really just such a clever idea. And I just couldn't resist this story because I thought how elegant, how simple, what a great solution. And hopefully these will get deployed and our firefighters will have yet another wonderful tool to help with their very challenging and dangerous situation.
Well, again, that's right up there with that device for your smartphone that gives you radar. Right,
The radar one, yeah, the Wallabot.
a little attachment for your smartphone that you hook up to your smartphone, and it lets you see through concrete walls. Literally, you can see leaking pipes and everything. It's all real. And again, it's all in the cheat notes at computeramerica.com. It sells for $149, not thousands of dollars, $149. You hook it up to your smartphone and you can see through walls with this thing. I mean, this is not science fiction, folks. This is real. It's available and it's now. So again, if you missed it, you can certainly listen to the show again. We archive all the shows at Blog Talk Radio or Apple's iTunes. We have archives. We're on SoundCloud, Stitcher. We're on the TuneIn Radio Network, the IRN Radio Network, all the different places that carry the Computer America show. You can hear it now. Of course, you can listen to Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern, or you can listen to archives of all the show. But again, check out all these things. Especially, I just thought that smartphone attachment that gives your smartphone radar to see through concrete.
Oh yeah. You know, I was thinking, Craig, as you were speaking, maybe what we should do is encourage listeners to vote on what they think is the coolest story.
Yeah,
and then we could,
it's real stuff. I mean,
I think Wallabot gets it. I'm with you. That was pretty neat.
All right, so let's do story 18 here. Now, okay, here comes the shameless Autodesk plug.
Yes. You knew it had to be there.
Yes, because Ralph is with Autodesk. Okay, and this story 18 leads off, says, if you don't like the buttons on your toaster, you have buttons on your toaster? Well, guess what? You can print your own. Okay, print your own buttons for your toaster. This is kind of
why? Because you can.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
This is all very much like maker movement kind of stuff and do-it-yourselfers, right? Okay. So this actually comes from a publication called New Scientist, which is very interesting. A story by Paul Marks. And if you have the show notes, there's the link there for you. Of course, the pictures and so on and so forth. So and there's a video too, which is kind of fun. So check that all out. It says, New Scientist published an article about retrofab, R-E-T-R-O, fab, retrofab, a system developed through Autodesk research, yay, that lets you customize the controls of everyday gadgets such as radios, alarm clocks, toasters, ovens, and TV remotes. Now, that could get pretty funny.
Yeah, that actually, yeah. Some TV remotes are cryptic the way with the labels on.
God,
exactly.
Isn't that the truth? And then retrofab, how it works here, retrofab takes a 3D scan of an appliance, then suggests different shapes and layouts for the appliance's buttons, dials, switches, levers, or LEDs. Users can view the options overlaid on the 3D scan and choose the things they'd like to change, such as resizing and rearranging the controls. Now, it may sound like just fun and games and silliness, but this might have application for people with mobility impairment.
Of course.
Or something like that. Maybe making a oversized dial could help somebody. So it could have a meaningful use too, right? So retrofab designs the connecting structure automatically so that the new control panel can sit on top of the existing one and allows the new controls to function. The design is then sent to a 3D printer, which fabricates the refreshed panel of the device in question. The system was developed by Rafe Ramakers while working for Autodesk Research. And here's a little bit of trivia for you. RAF is actually the oldest form of my name, Ralph. Ralph is the Hiberno-Saxon Germano-Celtic manifestation of Rafe. So really, I wish my parents had known this. If I were Rafe Bond, doesn't that sound powerful?
It does. It sounds a lot better.
Yes, it's okay. You could say it. Yeah. Anyway, so a little Autodesk story there, Autodesk Research, because, oh gosh, guys, Autodesk is, I can't say enough. You come out to our website, check it out, folks. The research we're doing, the kinds of work. We have this thing called Pier 9 in San Francisco. We took over a part of the old piers. And it's a huge R&D environment for maker movement. And it's just endlessly fun. Really cool. So this is one of the things coming out of that.
All right. We have time maybe to do one story, kind of short, but we'll do it. This is back to story 4. And this is Siemens is building a swarm of robot spiders. I'm not kidding. They're building this is Siemens, all right? It's building a swarm of robot spiders to 3D print objects together.
Yeah. So I know running short of time, so we'll move through this pretty quick. Comes from Quartz Magazine, story by Mike Murphy, who's a great writer, by the way. Great pictures in here. You got to get the show notes, people, because the picture alone is just wonderful. Shows two of the developers with these little robotic spider guys.
They're not
So
that
it says,
little.
well, yeah, they're pretty good size.
Yeah.
So it says 3D printing is still in its infancy, but it's starting to show signs that it might revolutionize the way we manufacture products. Gee, no duh. That said, current technology won't allow us to make anything larger than the printing machines themselves. Here's the key point. Some smart people have suggested that we should look to nature to see how it builds things, specifically spiders, and the way they can swarm together to build massive nests for themselves.
Yeah,
Creepy, but it's true.
I just had to clear a couple of them out from our pool here. I mean, they're gigantic structures, and they're like 100 times bigger than the little tiny spider that made them. So
Exactly, and vastly stronger than the equivalent steel thread.
Oh
But
yeah.
Siemens, the German engineering and telecommunications company, has taken this concept to heart. A team of researchers at its Princeton, New Jersey laboratory are creating autonomous spider-like robots that can work together to 3D print structures on command. While Siemens isn't known for its robotics research, Livio Dallaro, the head of the company's product design, simulation, and modeling research group in Princeton, said in an interview that the company views the bots as a moonshot, meaning kind of like a big, ambitious project, right? It hopes to entice researchers from across its hundreds of global offices to develop applications for the robots and create new products. The 8-legged robots have a myriad of sensors and can perceive the world around them. Oh, I love this. They use a combination of a depth perception camera, similar to Microsoft's Kinect system, and an infrared laser scanner to see the world. Dallaro said the team at the lab have been working for a few years to design and simulate the software to figure out how the robots would move and how they would work together so that if one bot is working on a building, one section of an object, his teammate wouldn't get in his way. Coordination, right? The team first concentrated on getting one robot to print something on a flat surface on its own, then print a small plastic object a few inches tall using essentially the same plastic printing technology found in many consumer 3D printers. Now, the team is working on using multiple robots to simultaneously build the same objects. Once the robots are able to work together, the researchers will focus on getting them to build larger objects. Here's the potential. Dallaro said the lab has 2 fully functioning robots and a third it's using for testing. He said the lab plans to build at least 3 more soon as it scales up the bot's ability to build collaboratively. He said, quote, "The idea is really to make these flexible, autonomous, communicating general purpose machines. The team is also working on building with different materials. Currently, robots can only print out plastics at about the same speeds as a traditional 3D printer would. But Dallaro said they're researching other materials such as concrete. Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, right.
In theory, in the future, an engineer could upload a design file to a group of robots and ask them to work together to figure out how to build it. And here's the ending. There are now 3D printers for electric circuits, for steel, for carbon fiber, and even for human tissues.
Right.
Swarms of bots could one day build us the next iPhone, the next Berger, I can't even say that, or perhaps even your next liver.
All right. If you're a liver lover, you could do it.
There you go. So isn't that great? I mean, what a story.
Listen, and there's so many more stories that we just can't get to. We're almost out of time. Like there's a carbon fiber strings that make a Japanese office building earthquake resistant. We've got there's some terrific stories here. Lego builds the world's largest Millennium Falcon for Star Wars Day in Malaysia. That was May the 4th be with you.
The 4th be with you.
Yeah, exactly. Also, a tennis table for that basically you can finally geek over. It's like a plaza. It's like a display, but it's a tennis.
Yes.
It's just amazing stories. Again, just go to computeramerica.com and on today's show, Ralph Bond, and you'll see the cheat notes there, and you can download them there for yourself. Ralph, listen, I want to thank you so much for being here with us. You got about a minute. What are you up to with Autodesk these days?
Hey, well, next week is the big American Institute of Architects convention, annual convention in Philadelphia. My colleagues will be there in force, and we'll be showing some just amazing technology. You want to talk about Internet of Things and all the things that are impacting design and construction. It's all going to be there next week.
Is that going to be open to the general public, or is that just something?
No, that's a trade show, so it's a fee-based and membership-based thing, but it's a great show, and a lot of great news stories will come out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ralph, listen, again, I want to thank you for being with us here on today's show. Again, Ralph will be here with us next month, again, on the 10th of June. It's always the second Friday of every month, and Ralph will be back with more great stories. Ralph, thank you so much for being with us here. Just stay with us to the end, okay? Because we
got it.
In the meantime, we've got the weekend, and then coming up on Monday, Smile Software is going to be here. We have Greg Scown, who is the owner and founder of Smile Software. They make a couple of really great products called Text Expander. This allows you to literally take any kind of phrases that you would have, and just with one or two keys, you can print out entire phrases, entire paragraphs, whatever you want, rather than having to type them over and over and over again. Smile Software with the Text Expander literally does expand your text. It's going to be really, really cool. Some of the other things on Wednesday, we're going to have Dariush Derek-Shani. He's our graphics correspondent. Thursday is our all Linux show. Anything having to do with Linux. Marcel Gagne, the man himself, our Linux expert, is going to be joining us here on the 19th. Again, if you want to know who's coming on the show, just head over to computeramerica.com. Right there on our homepage, under the press releases, news, and info, you'll see our guest calendar. Just click on that, and you'll see all the guests who are going to be appearing on the show, that are scheduled to be on the show. That's constantly being updated. Lisa will give you a handle on who's going to be here. And now, again, I want to thank or congratulate
90 seconds.
Stephen Brandsrud. Okay, he is our social media winner of the week. Stephen, again, wins the Logitech M535 Bluetooth wireless mouse. He got that. Congratulations to you, Stephen. And again, just head over to computeramerica.com and register for our contest. We give away stuff every single week. Why shouldn't you take advantage of that too? We could be calling your name next week on the air, because you get up to 5 chances to win some really great prizes. Hey, the weekend is upon us. Thank you all for being here with us. Don't forget to catch the Captain America movie. I'm going to catch it this weekend. I know I was reluctant. I missed out, but I'm going to catch it this weekend. And of course, the new X-Men movie coming up too. That's coming out later this month. I'm going to catch that as well. The new X-Men movie. Hey, let's have a great weekend. Thank you all so much for being with us here. And Ben and I, and thanks again, Ralph. Ben and I will be here same time, same place, same station. So until Monday afternoon, this is Craig Crossman, hoping that your hard disk never becomes floppy. We'll see you Monday. Have a great one. Bye-bye. Yeah, that's
10 seconds. Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Okay, Ralph, again, thanks for being here with us, and we'll see you next month, okay?
Okay, buddy. Take care.
Everybody, bye-bye.